very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. Bringing you the news this evening, I am Steven Machado.
And I am Hashani Patrana. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Sri Lanka is ready to welcome the new year. Dawn of the new year to be celebrated at 9:32 a.m. tomorrow. Trump directs US Navy to block ships entering and leaving Iranian ports along the Strait of Hormuz. Iran retaliates, saying any military ship entering the strait will be dealt with severely. Trump accuses the Pope of being terrible for foreign policy. Pope responds to criticism, saying he has no intention to debate the war with the US president. European Commission president says over 22 billion euros have been spent on fossil fuels during the past 44 days of the US and Israel war with Iran. SJB goes to the CID requesting an investigation over coal procurement. Chairman of Lanka Coal says there is no irregularity or corruption in coal procurement, adding that purchases were made based on procurement processes. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, a close ally of Trump and Putin, loses power after 16 years. Peter Magyars of the opposition secures a landslide victory.
On to your top story tonight. In just a few hours, the Sinhala and Tamil New Year will begin. A beautiful time when the entire country slows down to reflect, reconnect and celebrate with friends and family. As the sun prepares to move from Pisces into Aries, Sri Lanka gets ready to mark this significant moment in the astrological calendar, the symbolic beginning of a brand new year. Today is the final day of the old year. Since ancient times, Sri Lankans have engaged in cleaning their homes and preparing New Year sweets and other traditional foods during the old year period. All these activities are completed before the auspicious Nunagathaya begins. The day also includes the ritual bath for the old year. It is considered auspicious according to astrology to bathe using a herbal preparation mixed with the juice of woodapple leaves and to remember one's guardian deities. The Nunagathaya is scheduled from 3:08 a.m. tomorrow until 3:56 p.m. The Sinhala and Tamil New Year will dawn tomorrow, Tuesday the 14th of April at 9:32 a.m. The auspicious time for preparing meals is at 10:51 a.m. tomorrow. According to astrology, one must wear red-colored clothing, face the southern direction, light the hearth, and prepare kiribath, sweets, milk and other traditional food items. The auspicious time for beginning work, conducting transactions and partaking in meals is at 12:06 p.m. tomorrow. Astrology dictates that one should dress in red garments, face the south, partake in meals, commence work and conduct transactions. The special transport service implemented for the convenience of people travelling to their hometowns ahead of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year continued without interruption today.
Today is the 13th of April, which is considered as the end of the old year. Now these people must finish all their tasks before the Nunagathaya or the inauspicious time period. Let us see how these people are celebrating.
24-hour operations are being carried out jointly by the Sri Lanka Transport Board and private bus owners, with an additional 1,500 buses added to the service. A key feature is that buses are being dispatched from Fort and Makumura multimodal transport centres based on passenger demand. The Colombo Regional Operations Manager of the Sri Lanka Transport Board spoke about the services provided for the people travelling to their hometowns for the new year.
මේ වෙනකොට අද දක්වා අපි යොදවලා තිනවා පැමිණීම සියලුම මගීන්ට විනාඩි 20කට වඩා එක queue එකකට ඉන්න හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ. දවසකට මම හිතන්නේ 1,75,000කට ලක්ෂ 2කට එහා පැත්ත මගී සංඛ්‍යාවක් මේ වන විට දිනපතා පිටත්ව ගියා මෙම ස්ථානයේ. ඔවුන්ට නැවත පැමිණෙන්නට 15 වෙනිදා ඉඳලා 21 වෙනිදා වෙනකන් මේ වගේම ඒ ප්‍රදේශයන් වලට ලංකාවේ සෑම ප්‍රදේශයකටම බසත අපි නැවත මෙහෙන් යවනවා.
Similarly, train services for people travelling to their hometowns continued today as usual. A large number of passengers arrived in Anuradhapura today from Colombo via the Northern Railway line.
Many people have already gone from Colombo to other parts of the country in order to visit their friends, their families and their loved ones, and they seem to have done so without facing much transport issues.
This was the situation in Peta today.
දවස් දෙක තුනක් හොඳ වෙලඳාම තිබුණා හොඳ බිස්නස් එකක් තිබුණා නෑ කියලා කියන්න බෑනේ ඉතින් බිස්නස් එක හොඳයි ඉතින් දවස් තුනයි බිස්නස් තුනේ.
Just like in Colombo, people in outstation areas were also seen preparing for the Sinhala and Tamil New Year.
The US Central Command has issued an official statement to seafarers stating that the naval blockade of all Iranian ports will go into effect from 1400 GMT, or rather 7:30 p.m. Sri Lankan time today. Now, the blockade will be in effect for all ships registered under the flag of any nation traveling to and from Iranian ports in the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea east of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is in the aftermath of the weekend talks failing to reach a deal to end the war with Iran, jeopardizing a fragile 2-week ceasefire. The talks in Islamabad, which ran from Saturday into early yesterday, were the first direct and highest level US-Iranian discussions since Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution.
The negotiations came days after a ceasefire began last Tuesday, aimed at ending 6 weeks of fighting that has killed thousands of people across the Gulf, throttled vital supplies of energy, and sparked fears of a wider regional conflict. The US Central Command said that the US blockade would be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. The US military, however, said that vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports will not be impeded. It said additional information would be provided to commercial mariners through a formal notice prior to the start of the blockade. President Donald Trump said on Sunday that US forces would also intercept every vessel in international waters that had paid a toll to Iran. Trump said, quote, "No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage on the high seas. Any Iranian who fires at us or at peaceful vessels will be blown to hell," unquote. He added that the US Navy will begin destroying mines that the Iranians had dropped in the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point for about 20% of global energy supplies. Foreign media reported that satellite imagery from Saturday showed the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier positioned at the eastern edge of the Gulf of Oman, roughly 200 kilometers to the south of the Iranian coast. This is the closest to the Gulf that the nuclear-powered warship has been since the start of the war. Two other nearby warships visible in satellite imagery are consistent in size and shape with US Navy-guided missile destroyers. It is said that these vessels are likely to be part of the Lincoln's carrier strike group. A tense exchange between the United States and Iran in the Persian Gulf shows the extremely fraught situation in the Strait of Hormuz as a fragile ceasefire hangs in the balance. Thousands of sailors are stranded in the Persian Gulf on either side of the critical waterway. Sailors, speaking to foreign media, reported that they have been bombarded with sudden radio messages from both the US and Iran. American radio messages have been reflecting the following message.
Coalition Warship 121 engaged in transit passage in accordance with international law.
Meanwhile, Iranian messengers seem to be more stern and goes on the lines.
U.S. Navy Warship 121. This is Sepa Navy Station. You must alter course and go back to the Indian Ocean immediately. If you don't obey my order, you will be targeted. Out.
This is Coalition Warship 121, engaged in transit passage in accordance with international law. No challenge is attended to you.
U.S. Navy Warship transiting in the vicinity Fogey Port and Oman Sea. This is Sepa Navy. This is Sepa Navy. Last warning, last warning, last warning.
Close to High Island Port.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Oman Sea. This is Iranian Sepa Navy. If you see any warship in your vicinity, keep a distance more than 10 miles from them because I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
After Trump's initial remarks on Sunday, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards warned that military vessels approaching the strait will be considered a ceasefire breach and will be dealt with harshly and decisively, underlining the risk of a dangerous escalation. Speaking to the media at Joint Base Andrews, US President Donald Trump also shared his views on the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
How is the ceasefire holding, Mr. President?
Say it.
Ceasefire holding?
I would say it's holding well. Their military is destroyed. Their whole Navy is underwater. You know that 158 ships are gone. Their Navy's gone. Most of their mine droppers are gone. We have a lot of people, as you know, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil. And that will be very effective. But what we want to do is we want to, and again, we don't need it. What we notice and what we see and what I think is maybe my idea, maybe not, I don't know. But there are many boats heading toward our country to fill up with oil and then go and take it. So they're not going to go through the Hormuz Strait. And ultimately that'll be corrected. But in the meantime, they're using us. We have more oil. Because of drill, baby, drill, we have more oil than Russia and Saudi Arabia put together. So if you look at Russia and Saudi Arabia, two big ones, we have much more oil than they have put together. And what's happening is boats are coming over here, filling up. We don't have to go through the Hormuz Strait.
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer says his country will not join the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz announced by the United States President Donald Trump, a move also criticized by other US allies. Starmer told BBC Radio earlier today that UK will not be supporting the blockade, adding that the United Kingdom will not get dragged into the US-Israel war on Iran. Starmer said it was vital to get the strait reopened.
We're not supporting blockade, and all of the marshalling diplomatically, politically and capability. We do have minesweeping capability. I won't go into operational matters, but we do have that capability. That's all focused from our point of view on getting the straits fully open. I want to be really clear about that. In terms of the decisions that I've made as the British Prime Minister in the British national interest, which is where I've focused and anchored all my decisions, my decision has been very clearly that whatever the pressure, and there's been some considerable pressure, we're not getting dragged into the war. The UK is not getting dragged in. That's not in our national interest, because I'm not going to act unless there's a clear lawful basis and a clear thought-through plan. But equally, I recognise that where British lives are at risk, and they have been at risk in the Middle East and in the Gulf states, it's my responsibility to protect those British lives.
In peacetime, about 20% of the world's oil supplies pass through the strategic waterway that links the Gulf to the Indian Ocean. While shipping data showed 3 supertankers fully laden with oil passed through the strait on Saturday, tankers were steering clear of the waterway today, ahead of the US blockade. Benchmark crude oil prices surged more than 7% to top $100 per barrel in Monday morning trade in Asia, while the dollar jumped and US stock futures fell following the blockade announcement.
Speaking to foreign media, Pope Leo said that he plans to continue speaking out against war after US President Donald Trump's direct attack on the leader of the 1.4 billion member church. In comments about the papal flight to Algiers, where the first US Pope is starting a 10-day tour to 4 African countries, the pontiff also said the Christian message was being abused. Leo told foreign media, quote, "I don't want to get into a debate with him," unquote, as he greeted journalists on the plane. He added, quote, "I don't think that the message of the gospel is meant to be abused in the way that some people are doing," unquote. US President Donald Trump criticized Pope Leo as terrible in an unusual direct attack on the pontiff. The president's comments came after the Pope had spoken out with growing force against the US-Israeli war on Iran and the Trump administration's hardline immigration policies.
Why did you attack Pope Leo on Truth Social?
I don't think he's doing a very good job. He likes crime, I guess. He hit us. Think of it. He's worried about fear. What about the fear when the ministers and the priests and all of those great people that were arrested during COVID, and in many cases they're outside 10 feet apart, and they were arrested. So we don't like it. We don't like a pope that's going to say that it's okay to have a nuclear weapon. We don't want a pope that says crime is okay in our cities. I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. He's a very liberal person, and he's a man that doesn't believe in stopping crime. He's a man that doesn't think that we should be toying with a country that wants a nuclear weapon so they can blow up the world. I'm not a fan of Pope Leo.
The US president also shared an AI-generated image of himself as Jesus Christ after launching an extraordinary attack on the Pope. Responses on Truth Social were atypically critical, with some followers urging the president to take the post down.
The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said today that the European Union's fossil fuel import bill has increased by more than 22 billion euros since the start of the Iran war. Speaking at a news conference in Brussels, she warned of the growing economic burden of fossil fuel dependence, saying import costs have surged over just 44 days amid geopolitical tensions affecting energy supplies.
Since the beginning of the conflict, 44 days ago, our bill for fossil fuel imports has increased by over 22 billion euros. 44 days, 22 billion euros, not a single molecule of energy in addition. And this shows the enormous impact this crisis has on our economy. Even if the hostilities ceased immediately and the disruption of energy supplies from the Gulf will persist for some time to come. And therefore we discussed a series of measures that we will present to leaders at the next informal council that we have next week in Cyprus. We will have a communication the Wednesday before the European Council starts in Cyprus. And today we discussed a number of measures that we could present. No, at the same time, we all know that we also will need more structural measures to bring down energy prices and to give relief to citizens and businesses. As you recall, at the last European Council, we had already a very constructive discussion on the 4 cost components for the energy bill. So the first one we looked at is the ETS cost. I want to repeat, it's the smallest amount in the energy bill. Then the second part, or the 2 other cost components are, as I said, electricity taxes and the grid charges. Here the work is advancing on the legislative proposals with which we will come. And today's discussion has confirmed that we will present these legislative proposals in May. And finally, we'll discuss, as I called it, the biggest chunk of the energy bill. This is the energy source itself. Here is very important to recall, if we widen the picture for a moment. As I said, the Strait of Hormuz is essentially closed, and immediately citizens feel the impact. They feel the impact at the gas station, they feel the impact in the supermarket, on their household bills. So what we are seeing in the Middle East is not some distant crisis. but in a world in which everything is connected, the effects are direct and they are immediate. And this is, as I said, the second fossil fuel crisis in just a few years. There's one thing that all these events make clear. We are paying a very high price for our over-dependency on fossil fuels. And the grim reality for our continent is fossil fuel energy will remain the most expensive options in the years to come.
Coming back into more local news, Samaki Janabalawegya parliamentarian Mujibur Rahman has lodged a complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department today, alleging irregularities in an emergency coal procurement tender awarded by the Lanka Coal Company. The complaint is also based on a recording of a phone circulating on social media.
A stock of coal imported under a previously awarded long-term coal tender by the Lanka Coal Company was found to be below the required quality standards, prompting the calling for an emergency procurement tender last month. Samaki Janabalawegya MP Mujibur Rahman lodged a complaint with the Criminal Investigation Department today, alleging that irregularities had occurred in the awarding of that tender.
පොඩ්ඩෙන්ඩ එක දැමීම තුළ විශේෂයෙන්ම ඒ සම්බන්ධව ගිය සාකච්ඡාවල මේ ගල්ලංගුරු ගෙන්වා ගැනීම සඳහා වූ දාපු ඒ ටෙන්ඩරේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පැවතිච්ච සාකච්ඡා සම්බන්ධයෙන් මේ වෙනකොට සමාජ මාධ්‍ය තුළ යම් ඔඩියෝ එකක් මේ නිකුත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ ඔඩියෝ එක දිහා බැලුවම අපිට පේන්න තිබෙනවා දැන් එතනත් වංචාවක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තිබෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ සම්බන්ධව තමයි අද අපි ආවේ අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවට පැමිණිල්ල දාලා මේ ඔඩියෝ එක සම්බන්ධව යන මේ සාකච්ඡාව සම්බන්ධයෙන් වහාම පරීක්ෂණයක් පවත්වන්න කියලා.
Meanwhile, issuing a statement regarding the telephone conversation circulating on social media, chairman of the Lanka Coal Company, Jayant Ratnayaka, stated that the conversation took place on the 25th of March between himself, the company's general manager, and an official representing the local agent of the coal supplier. The chairman further stated that he had informed the local representative of the supplier who had been awarded the contract through the tender board with proper qualifications and cabinet approval to submit the performance bond issued by the bank, dated 25th of March 2026, which is the date it was issued. He also noted that the relevant audio recording has been distorted and circulated on social media in a misleading manner. He emphasized that the emergency coal procurement tender process and the related procurement procedures were carried out in accordance with proper guidelines, and that the process is being implemented successfully. Meanwhile, the sealed office of the Lanka Coal Company in Kohuala is scheduled to be reopened the day after tomorrow. The Ministry of Energy stated that the operations of the coal company are expected to return to normal after it is reopened. The Criminal Investigation Department took steps to seal the Lanka Coal Company office the day before yesterday. This was done as part of an investigation initiated by the department following a complaint filed by the Secretary to the President, Dr. Nambika Sanatkumar Naika, calling for a probe into coal imports since 2009. The Criminal Investigation Department further stated that this investigation is ongoing.
Newsfirst with the people.
Hungary's veteran national leader Viktor Orbán lost power to the upstart centre-right TISA party in yesterday's election after 16 years in office, marking a setback for his allies in Russia and US President Donald Trump's White House.
According to official results, with 97.35% of precincts counted, Magyar centre-right party secured 138 seats in the 199-seat parliament on 53.6% of the vote, while nationalist Orbán's Fidesz took just 55 seats with 37.8%. In a victory speech to tens of thousands of supporters gathered along the Danube River in the capital Budapest, Magyar said his voters had rewritten history.
Thank you for believing that it can be done. Thank you for believing that we can change our fate. Thank you for believing that we, ourselves, the Hungarian people, write our own history. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Today, the Hungarian people said yes to Europe. They said yes to a free Hungary. They said yes to represent them, to help them, to put the country in order. Because this is a Hungarian government, the responsibility of the Hungarian government. Hungary will once again be a strong ally in the European Union and NATO.
Magyar said the results projecting his party winning a two-thirds majority in parliament represented a historic mandate and pledged to unite all Hungarians. For his part, Orban told his followers that he had congratulated the victorious party after a painful but clear result.
Kedves barátaim, a választási eredmény.
Dear friends, the election result is not final yet, but it is understandable and clear. The election result is painful for us, but clear.
Fájdalmas, de egyértelmű.
The responsibility and possibility of governing was not given to us.
Lehetőségét nem nekünk adták.
I have congratulated the winner. I thank you all for the great work.
Nektek, önöknek köszönöm a rengeteg munkát.
Never before in any election campaign have so many of us worked together and worked so much.
Választási kampányban sem. Van is.
You can see it. We managed to gather 2.5 million voters. 2.5 million people trusted us. Today as well.
Millió ember bízott bennünk a mai napon is. Kedves barátaim, hogy a hazánk és a...
Dear friends, what this election result means for the fate of the homeland and the nation, and what its deeper or higher meaning is, this we don't know. Only time will tell.
Azt most nem tudjuk, ezt majd az idő eldönti.
But no matter how it turned out, we will also serve our country and the Hungarian nation from the opposition.
A hazánkat és a magyar nemzetet fogjuk szolgálni.
The National Election Office said the turnout by 6:30 p.m. in Hungary was more than 77%, a record number in any election in Hungary's post-communist history. Orban's defeat will have significant implications not only for Hungary but for the European Union, Ukraine and beyond. It will likely spell an end to Hungary's adversarial role inside the EU, possibly opening the way for a €90 billion loan to war-battered Ukraine, which had been blocked by Orban.
Legendary playback singer Asha Bhosle's final rites were observed at Shivaji Park in Mumbai this evening as the country bid her final farewell with full state honours.
Since morning, a large number of people, including luminaries from the artistic world and admirers from all walks of life, arrived at the Casa Grande in Lower Parel, where she lived, to pay their last respects to the musical legend. Subsequently, her mortal remains were taken to Shivaji Park, located about 5 kilometers away from her residence. The vehicle was adorned with her favorite white and yellow flowers. Scores of fans gathered along the path leading to the funeral site to catch a final glimpse of Asha and to thank her for the immense contributions she made to cinema and Indian music over her 8-decade career. The funeral that took place at 4 p.m. was attended by Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, among others. Passed away at the age of 92 at Breach Candy Hospital in Mumbai on Sunday, the 12th of April, due to multi-organ failure. She was admitted to hospital on Saturday owing to extreme exhaustion and a chest infection.
Northern Irishman Rory McIlroy emerged from a tight pack of contenders to win the 90th Masters tournament yesterday, joining a trio of golf icons as the only players in history to conquer the Augusta National in back-to-back years.
Rory McIlroy waited 17 years for his first green jacket and then on Sunday did what only 3 golfers before him had managed by winning a second Masters in a row. With his win, the 36-year-old joins an elite group comprising of Jack Nicklaus, Nick Faldo and Tiger Woods as the only players to successfully defend their Masters title. McIlroy said earlier this week that winning one Masters would make it easier to win a second, and he dug deep into that belief on Sunday to rally from a 3-shot deficit on the front 9 to post a 1 under par round of 71 for the winning score of 12 under 276, one better than Scotty Scheffler.
I tried to convince myself it was both, but yeah, just incredible. I don't think I would have believed anyone if they said to me, all you have to do is shoot even par for the weekend and you'll win. But yeah, just absolutely delighted to be able to get it done.
McIlroy's 6th career major also tied him with Faldo for the most by a European player in the modern era, and they are tied for 12th most all-time by any player. After setting a Masters record with a 6-shot lead after 36 holes, McIlroy played the final 36 holes in even par. That brought a host of players back into the mix, with at least 4 different players leading at some point during the final round. McIlroy admitted that he kept a close eye on the leaderboard after falling back to 9 under to know where he stood in the tournament. When his winning putt dropped, the Northern Irishman looked to the clear blue Georgian skies and let out a jubilant roar before hugging caddy Harry Diamond while cheers of Rory, Rory bounced off Augusta National's towering pine trees.
Final shot of the 90th Masters be that tap-in for the win. Rory McIlroy does it. He plays even par over the weekend. He holds off Scheffler. The rest fall by the wayside, and the celebration this time was of joy. Rory McIlroy, back-to-back Masters champion.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching.
Good night.